Welcome back to episode 7 of Downfall Mall. We are unfortunately starting to approach the end of this series, but try not to be sad. Okay, you can be a little sad, but not too much. I still want you to enjoy the video, but not too much. No wait, you can enjoy this as much as you like. Anyway, let's build some stuff. Returning to our giant indoor complex Argon, it's time to add those final details, starting with a battlement-style trim in an attempt to hide the show building roof. I copied the front facade in order to start work on the staff entrance. Much like everywhere else, I removed any pieces that would be covered up, in order to save on piece count. I placed a staff room facility and started work on a staff building using various TMTK corrugated iron pieces and wooden columns. I gave it a door, some lighting, and electrical cabling. I created a nice little plaza out front using Artificial Artist's Stone Path Type 2. The roof was a bit fiddly considering some odd angles, but I just about made it work and attempted to cover any holes with clutter. Now, considering this is a post-apocalyptic settlement, we probably need to make it look a bit more like, well, a settlement. I decided to create a street with various shops, facilities, and even a cheeky flat ride. In true nerd chacho fashion, I created my layout first using wooden batten walls. This allowed for a better understanding of how the buildings would intersect with the coaster without having to worry about it later. With the template in place, I popped down a nice variety of shops, facilities, and vending machines. Starting at the top of the street, I began work on a Chief Beef. I use very similar build styles for the entire street, so I won't bore you with every single one, don't worry. I began with trims, of course, because it's me. I created a nice cinder block extension using slightly recolored castle walls. More of the usual corrugated iron. For fear of our build looking too drab, I added a pop of colour using the iconic Chief Beef colours. I went fully custom with the interior, no grid pieces in sight. Utterly remarkable stuff, really. If you've watched enough of my content, you'll know I love an exposed ceiling for my interiors, and it works perfectly for an industrial aesthetic. I added ducting, custom cable racks, lighting, and plumbing. I tidied it all up with some path cover and, of course, trims. I created a simple shop sign using metal tread plates and TMTK lettering. Lastly, the finishing touches in the form of piping, ropes, and benches. I added a little canopy outside for some covered seating, probably one of the few times I've used the veranda roof for its intended purpose. A lovely neon sign with a buried area light for some added emission. For the rear of the build, I went for a neglected look, as this would be seldom seen by guests. I popped a roof on top and a couple of final details to the rear of the build. Hopping across the road, I made a start on our second eatery, housing a pizza pen and gulpy. I gave this one a wooden balcony and connected it to our Chief Beef with wooden planks. Another effort to make our settlement look lived in and for each section of the park to tell a story. More wood, more trims, and more wood. Oh, and more trims. I went for an overgrown look for the rear of this build, something a bit more complex with it being guest facing. Pretty much exactly the same treatment for the interior as we did across the road, with a few slight variations here and there. Considering we're supposed to be creating a theme park rather than a town, a flat ride wouldn't go amiss. I went with the Centrum, or Roundup, for its stripped back and rudimentary design. The last couple of flat rides have been fairly understated, so I went for a big statement piece, and it wasn't stressful at all. With the ride in its fully extended position, I created a giant frame around the platform using various scrap pieces, to give the impression of junk being flung off in all directions. Bearing in mind there was no hitbox to align to surface for this, you can imagine how painstaking and time-consuming this was. With the majority of the scrap in position, I created a huge brace to the rear of it, because we're all about that juicy realism here. With the brace in place, I gave it some sturdy supports. I then made every effort to hide the structure with more junk. I covered the main street in cobblestone before creating a nice little seating area in front of the ride for those who don't trust in centrifugal force. I felt so strange for using the veranda roof piece properly earlier, I decided to revert back to using it as a fence again. I used some reverse stone trim pieces to create a flagstone floor for the queue. Check me out. As we are in sunny Florida, I added some queue cover using shade sails and wooden pillars. Back onto shops again, I created a little cubby for some vending machines. This being a Missy Goods, I went with the associated donut vending machine and a coffee machine, a cracking combo if you ask me, to decorate just more junk and scrap and bits and bobs and things. After completing the shop itself, I added a seating area to the rear by the canal. With all these shops, a staff room was essential. I'll just let you watch this build uninterrupted because I'm boring myself with all this waffling. Goodness, wasn't that peaceful? Unfortunately, I'm back, this time to explain a toilet build. Aren't you lucky? I was getting tired of the repetitive textures along our main street, so reverted back to the same design seen on our chow mein chow by the entrance. Once again, primarily using cargo carriers and cargo crates. With the coaster in such close proximity, the roof was a bunch of fun, but I persevered. Think restrooms, think plumbing, right? I created some overhead piping to our lovely pump house. Yes, everything does tie together so wonderfully. How nice of you to say. I got so carried away with my piping, I created a flippin' spaghetti junction round the back. Finally, I tidied up the flat ride exit, which so gracefully leads our guests past the back of the toilet block. And on that lovely note, it's time to wrap up today's episode, but don't fret, because I'll be back next time to build a Horror Heights. Wowee. See you then.